Welcome to Career Bits, the weekly podcast of the University Career Center at UNC Charlotte. We're continuing our series on career communities, and this episode we are spotlighting our engineering, manufacturing, and energy career community. If you have a passion for thinking outside of the box, solving technical problems, doing hands-on projects, figuring out how things work or how they can run more efficiently, and being precise and systematic in your work, then this career community might be for you. You're going to hear us have conversations here from a campus partner who works in the College of Engineering, a recent grad who's now working full-time in the engineering field, and our career coach. Learn more about how the Career Center can support you as you pursue careers in the engineering, manufacturing, and energy career community. So let's get started. Now I'm happy to welcome to Career Bits Linda Thurman, the Director for Employer Relations and Student Professional Development and Career Advisor in the William States Lee College of Engineering at UNC Charlotte. Linda, thanks for taking time to talk with us today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
We're highlighting our career community in engineering and energy. And so I wanted to talk with you a little bit about some of the services that are offered to those students, and particularly from your end in the Lee College.
Well, the Lee College of Engineering, I feel, has done a phenomenal job with really focusing the energy industries and profession and have integrated that into our students' curriculum. So all our majors here at UNC Charlotte's College of Engineering have an energy focus, and it looks a little different depending on what their majors are. They will take technical classes that may be focused on energy or energy design or plants, energy plants, perhaps maybe even alternative energy. But the nice thing about if you are an energy-focused concentration student is that you get access to several different things that maybe other majors wouldn't get access to. For example, we have energy-specific scholarships, which I think is really nice. A lot of those companies such as Siemens, Areva, and others have done a phenomenal job recognizing the need to have more engineers in the energy sector, so have provided scholarships from undergraduates to graduate level opportunities. There's also a big push and emphasis from the EPIC folks, which stands for Energy Production Infrastructure Center, to do energy-focused internships. And so many times there are opportunities with the energy partners for students to do the internships. We also have senior design projects that focus on energy, energy projects that are focused on things like maybe energy management or perhaps the things that have to do just with the power industry, alternative energy. They also do webinars, weekly talks, and research opportunities.
Let me ask you this too, Linda. How important, we know it's important for students to do things like internships and co-ops and things like that to expand their horizons and things, but what have you seen students do that makes those opportunities really pop for them and make them quality candidates as they head into the workforce or even graduate school?
Sure. Well, that's a great question. So in our college, we're very fortunate in Charlotte because we are in Charlotte, there is a lot of industry in our area. And it's, I feel, very advantageous for our students, perhaps compared to other students, maybe who don't get to go to schools that have that much industry involvement. So we always let students know from freshmen on, they really need to kind of plan out their college experience. They need to set a timetable for when they want to accomplish things, whether it's internships or co-ops. They need to set goals for themselves. They need to use the resources that they have available to them. They also have to learn how to network and kind of come out of their shell. I'll be honest with you. A lot of times we have found that students wait till the last second to want to do some of these things, and we realize that is not a good recipe for success, that students really need to build into their college experience opportunities that they are introduced to, or perhaps seek out opportunities. And really, it's freshman through senior year goes by so quickly. And I know students don't always think about that, but it really does. But they need to take the time to explore about what drives them, what their passions are, to see if engineering and energy makes sense for them. They need to explore the job market, which companies actually hire their majors, and of course, then the needed skills. Sometimes they're technical, sometimes they're non-technical skills, whether it might be leadership or perhaps professional licensure. There's a variety of things that are out there, and the students, and it looks different for each student. So we really want the students to take the time to kind of lay out their college experience, similar as if they were laying out their career. It's still supposed to be a fun time and for learning and exploring. But if you wait to the last second to do a lot of that, I think the end result will not be what you want it to be.
I think that's excellent advice. And we've seen higher levels of engagement from our freshman and sophomore students the last couple of years. So it's really encouraging. I think one of the things you hit on there that I want to circle back with is sort of getting yourself out of the shell. And what are services that you provide and then coordinate, with us to do to help students work on that and practice that?
Sure. So for starting their freshman year, they actually have to do several things that help get them in the pipeline. They have to go to workshops the Career Center offer. They need to do usually some type of paper or assignment that allows them to kind of explore what their interests are. And then, of course, that's a graded assignment. So students definitely will normally do that. We also have students in our freshman learning community that as well as in our MAPS program and in our diversity programs, actually, that have the opportunity to connect with employers and alumni. And I think that really sets the stage for them knowing that they have to talk to people. They have to learn to talk about themselves. They have to go out of their comfort zone and meet with folks they normally wouldn't meet with. But that's all part of the process, right? As to building up their experience of talking about themselves, learning how to appropriate conversations to have. So that really starts off the freshman year. We really work with the students in Introduction to Engineering, the early classes, as well as in the MAPS mentoring program on how to develop a game plan for their time here in the college. And it's not just the academic side, it is also the professional development side.
And to that end, as you're working with employers and interfacing with them, Linda, what are things you hear employers say make for the best candidates, the intern candidates that really stand out, and then ultimately the full-time candidates that really stand out to them in terms of skills and aptitudes and sort of the way they approach things?
So the employers that I work with, I really feel that they don't look so much at the higher level academics, right? So they enjoy the good GPA, and I say that because they want to see that students have learned the material. It really has to do with their personality, and it has to do with their attitude. So if a student that comes in that wants to learn, someone that is open-minded, someone who's a little more driven, someone who's got curiosity, and is very professional in nature and how they communicate with others, and they're willing to be part of a solution, part of the team. That is what I feel employers have told me work well in their organizations. For someone to come in to say, I have the highest GPA, which don't get me wrong, GPA is great, but really lacks the ability to work well with others, or lacks the motivation perhaps, or perhaps even just is very dominant, for example, and feels like I've got a degree, I'm the best one out there. So there's a really fine balance between being confident and being overly confident. So they really, really work on, be honest with you, the technical skills are important. Education is absolutely important. Those are the fundamentals, but it's all this other non-technical stuff that really, I think, sets students apart. The students who maybe have leadership opportunities, the students who have done things such as volunteering or perhaps multiple internships, students who've really put themselves out there, that is the typical employee that they are attracted to, because it shows that that person is going to be flexible, adaptable, that they're eager to learn. And that's really what they feel, the future of engineering is: someone who could work with diverse groups, someone who seeks out knowledge, someone who wants to really come in and make a difference.
So, Linda, for students that may be just starting their journey at UNC Charlotte and they're kind of exploring their options and they may be listening to this, what are things that they should consider if they're doing kind of a good self-check of like, okay, is this the right path for me? How's it? What's a good test to know, like, hey, engineering might be a path that I want to follow?
Sure. So that's a great question. And we do see a good number of students, unfortunately, leave our college, but it's really because they have just found that this is not what they want out of life, which is fine. We just want people to go and get a good, solid education and be happy, because if you don't enjoy your career, life becomes really hard. So we really emphasize to them that during the 1201 projects or during the field trips that we do with the freshman learning community, or even through the diversity programs we have or the MAPS programs, ask those questions. Ask what a typical day like is for an engineer. Look around, pay attention to the industry, pay attention to who is hiring, read job descriptions that go out, attend the job fairs, attend the picnics. You may not be in job search mode, but really it's just more information gathering. The more you can learn about the different types of companies or the different types of jobs that are available to you and the skill sets that are needed, you really then can take a step back and say, is that what my future can look like? Is that something that's of interest to me? If students have to go do self-assessments, a lot of them already do it through high school, but a lot of times the person doesn't talk with them so much in high school. They just get the results back and say, oh, you're really good in math and science. That doesn't do a lot for students. I'll be honest with you. It's probably very frustrating for the student because a lot of majors use math and science, right? I think engineering really has to do is, do you want to solve problems? Do you want to be part of a bigger picture? Do you want to solve problems? Do you want to help the world, basically? And so if you have that attitude of wanting to work with others to come up with solutions, engineering is a good field for people. So, if they've got to take the self-assessments, I think the Career Center and the Counseling Center does a great job diving into that and then talking through those results with students. But I also think students can do a lot on their own by just putting themselves out there at the different events that we have in the college, as well as what the Career Center does. Mock interviews are a great example. And really just kind of ask the questions to the employers on why they chose to be engineers or what their experience has been like.
I think you really hit on something there. Asking people who are in the field, why do you do this? What do you enjoy? How did you get here? Really opens that conversation up for a lot of our students through time. And so, Linda, thanks again for joining us on Career Bits. Tell folks how they can interact with you and keep up with you on campus when they're here.
Great. So when we are back in campus, which hopefully will be soon, they can reach me at my email address, which is my first initial, last name, lthurman@uncc.edu. They also can go to the College of Engineering website and just type in Linda Thurman or professional development. I do have a website that does highlight a variety of ways students can get involved with industry folks, as well as links to the Career Center's website, as well as senior design and other places on campus or in our college that would be good resources for students. And then my office actually is in the Smith Building. I'm in 228, which is the main space in the Smith Building, where a lot of the students can come to ask questions. I can be made available for appointments, whether it be phone, email, or in person.
Happy to welcome into Career Bits Alex Tax, the Geotechnical Staff Project Manager for ECS Engineering Consulting Services and UNC Charlotte alumnus. You graduated in 2018 and you're working on your master's, right, Alex?
I am. Thanks for having me, Jay.
Absolutely. So first off, just tell people a little bit about your background and how you got to ECS out of UNC Charlotte.
Yeah. So like I said, I graduated in 2018, December, but I actually got started with ECS the previous summer, summer of 2018 as an intern. I had an internship the previous summer that I didn't appreciate as much, but I still was interested in kind of the consulting area, which is what ECS is. That's their forte. And so kind of tried to switch into another company, got started interning with them. Spent the whole summer on this massive project out in Shelby, North Carolina that was just really nice to be hands-on and involved. So, but I knew I was going to have an extra semester part-time in December just to finish up. And so I worked out working part-time with ECS and part-time schooling. So I did that hand in hand, graduated in December and just got hired full-time at the end of the semester, just starting in January. So kind of just transitioned intern, part-time, full-time within the span of a year. So
indeed, not an uncommon story for our engineering students and those interested in it. I think something you said there that I know a lot of students that are interested in going into the engineering and energy community are most interested in is because it is a very hands-on field. But to get to that, you got to do a lot of classroom science and math kind of stuff. So Alex, just kind of put yourself back in your freshman and sophomore year and talk to those level of students that, hey, you're going through this now, but this is how that translates into the workforce.
Yeah. So actually, another kind of fun story is part of my undergrad experience was being an RA in Hawthorne Hall. So I got to live with a bunch of prospective French engineering students for some of them. And so one of the experiences that I got to help this is kind of a little bit more of a tangent, but one of the programs that ECS offers that UNC Charlotte is that they offer is that they have this engineering and then the engineering technology program. So you're talking about the hands-on experience. A lot of people want more of that hands-on experience in the classroom, not just in the work. And so that engineering technology opportunity for those freshmen who I was working with was very helpful for them who didn't want to just do all the math and sciencey stuff, but to get their hands dirty. But then with respect to my work, that's part of the thing that I really appreciate is being able to go out into the fields and go back into the office on a day-to-day basis or in the same day, just working back and forth. So being able to have both the hands-on experiences and then applying what you've learned, not all the time, but I mean, there are definitely things that you think you kind of understand when you're learning it in the classroom, but then once you get out into the field and it kind of clicks and you get a different perspective. And so it's nice to kind of tie those things together, especially while you're still in school. It's a good learning opportunity.
So walking back to what made you choose engineering as a career path to begin with, I mean, what about that really spoke to you and how did you go through that process?
Yeah, that's actually another good question because that's another little storyline. I originally actually wanted to do architecture, and UNC Charlotte's architecture program is very well known. It's very respected. I have one of my old classmates from high school who actually took a few years off, went to community college, and then started at the architecture program while I was still in the undergrad program with civil engineering. And talking to him, it was kind of like, wow, I wouldn't want to be you in that experience over there. It's very competitive and very challenging, but the engineering, basically what I realized is that I wanted to do more math and science. Architecture is amazing. I love looking around at buildings and just kind of understanding just like why people are designing things in that way. But I realized the hard math and science was really more interesting to me. And so when I was a freshman, I didn't know that I wanted to do civil engineering, but then it kind of clicked when I took our first class. We did a beam project where that was kind of like, oh, so that's how that works. It's just simple, like moments of inertia. And then from there, I was like, okay, civil engineering, that's cool. But that kind of made sense to me, right? So I was like, okay, so architecture, civil engineering is like the foundation of architecture.
They're definitely related.
Yeah, just definitely. But that was kind of the trajectory and how that kind of worked out. I didn't know I wanted to do the civil engineering, but it made sense with the kind of architectural interests in my past. So.
Yeah, and so just from your point of view as a civil engineer, but maybe even thinking to some of your classmates and colleagues that are working in different areas of engineering, what are the skills, traits, and habits of people that are going to be successful in the engineering field?
One of the things that I think you kind of start to realize in school, but that didn't really hit home for me until I started working, is communication more than anything else. Because if you can't communicate what you're trying to say, or if you're trying to communicate with your, let's say, principal engineer for us when we're writing geotech reports, let's say on my end, if I'm not able to communicate my meaning and kind of understanding of the project and like corresponding with like the client, let's say if they need something and you're trying to kind of just communicate what they need and kind of put it onto paper and communicate like the results and analysis of these tests and studies, it's not helpful. You've got to be clear and straightforward. And I'm not the greatest at that, but I'm practicing it and I'm getting better day to day for sure. I know that a lot of the classes at UNC Charlotte and the civil program, I can't speak for the other programs, but they have a lot of writing courses where you have to practice writing these things, and people don't enjoy them. I certainly didn't enjoy them at first because it's like, oh, I don't want to deal with this. But looking back in hindsight, it's like, yeah, you really do have to practice that stuff and kind of work at it to become competent in the professional world.
Let's talk about something else that you can definitely translate experience from classroom to workspace from, and that's working as a part of a team. And I don't mean like just working as a group where everybody does a thing and you throw it together, but what's it like to work as a part of an engineering team now to accomplish a goal? And what did you do, or what from your background at UNC Charlotte really helped you prepare for that?
One of the biggest team building experiences I had in the undergrad program was our senior design class. The civil engineering program is a little bit different than pretty much all the other undergraduate engineering programs, because they have a lot more sophomore, junior, senior design classes. The civil engineering, obviously, scale is an issue for those projects. Like, you can't build buildings like for real. They wouldn't let you as a student because you're not that experienced. But that senior design project was really kind of the biggest team building project that I had in undergrad, and it tested me. I loved the people I worked with, and we did a great job. We were actually kind of the guinea pig group for this we were doing a landfill design, and so no one had done that before, and all four of us had been in a landfill design class, and the program hadn't done the landfill design for a senior design project before, so we were just paving the road. And I think they ended up switching away from that because they realized it wasn't quite as successful because there was so much new stuff that we had to kind of process. I don't think we were maybe prepared quite enough, but we certainly tried. We put a lot of effort into it. But then in terms of working here and at ECS in the professional world, you do quite as many just big projects like that. Consulting is more, from my perspective and my position at least, we're doing more kind of like individual projects for geotechnical reports. So we'll basically have to, teamwork wise, I'll usually have to work with like our drilling coordinator, making sure we have drill rigs coordinated just to go out into the field and to drill our sites. We have to make sure the sites have been cleared with like utilities. I have to communicate with the project manager and the principal engineer once we get the results back, like, hey, this is kind of what it's looking like. These are the kind of soils we have. These are the recommendations that I'm thinking of. What are you, bouncing ideas back and forth just to kind of make sure we're all on the same page about things. That's where I'm focusing.
That is fabulous. Alex, what, when you think back to like your job search process, and I know you were able to be hired from, intern to part-time to end, but when you went to search for that internship and go through that can be kind of a nerve-wracking experience, particularly for an engineer and things, because again, you spend so much of your time working on theoretical and stuff, and then having to you have to develop those communication skills outside of what you get necessarily in the classroom. What were things you did that really helped you know how to pitch yourself professionally and have that conversation with people during interviews?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. One of the things I talked to my students when I was in RA a lot was the career fairs. Like, UNC Charlotte does a great job presenting opportunities in terms of having companies and clients like coming to the university to basically try to hire people. And a lot of those are engineering, just simply engineering related. I think there may be at least 2 to 3 per year, fall and spring, that are just geared towards engineering students. And so what I did, based off recommendations from teachers when I was a freshman, was just, even if you're a freshman, you're not going to get hired necessarily, but you should go anyways. Bring your resume, what you've got, like practice working on that resume from the beginning of the undergrad program, and then just go. Even if you don't get hired or anything, you're practicing and going and talking to people, which is something that I don't consider myself to be good at, and I don't enjoy it all the time. But the more you practice it, the better you're going to get. And so by the time I was a junior and a senior, I'd done it so many times, it was just like, okay, here we go again. Brought my updated resume. And you just kind of get to know these people. With ECS, actually, what ended up happening was I had one of my classmates from sophomore year who got started working for them. He was a few years ahead of me. And then I knew that he started working for them, and I think reached out to him about the company because it was one of the companies that was always on the career fair list. And he's like, oh yeah, I can get you in touch with so-and-so. And the office manager at the time I got in touch with, and just kind of talked to them at one of the career fairs, and just kind of between him and talking to that guy on the career fair, that kind of the 2 points that's where it went off from. And that's all it takes, right? It's just, because if they just see your name on a resume one time in on a career fair. Like, I mean, okay, yeah, maybe you're a good prospect, but if you have that other connection from someone who already works there, then that really, it makes a difference in terms of kind of picking out people who, if you have another recommendation from someone else too.
And I couldn't have written a better networking story for somebody to tell. That's
Well,
exactly right, because you did that as an undergraduate student, but you stayed in touch with an older student that you were friends with. And I think that's one thing we talk to students often about, like building your network. And it seems like this daunting thing. And you've already got a huge one just with the people you're in classes
exactly.
with. Make friends with the upperclassmen.
Yeah. We have an intern this summer who was in a class with me, that a night class last fall while I was working full time. And he kind of got, and one of my other coworkers was in that class at the time, and he kind of got started like, hey, so how do you guys like working here? Like, oh, it's great, blah, 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 blah. Just let us know if you're trying to get hired and we'll hire you. Like, we'll talk to the office manager, and he's working as an intern now, planning to get started full time in the fall. So deja vu.
Yeah, that is fabulous. Well, you pay it forward, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Now that you're in your career and things, I mean, you're working on your master's degree, like you say, but what are the things do you find, I don't know, it's maybe most surprising about how much you have to still keep learning after you've got the degree and you're on the job site?
Yeah, you're always learning every single day. It may not seem like you learn something new, but every single day you're going to learn something, whether or not it's just a small kind of like piece of language, like in a report for something that, okay, maybe I should word this differently. That would make more sense. And if I presented it this way, or just going out in the field. Like this morning, I went out to one of our job sites with a coworker, and he was showing me how to do a new special inspection, basically, that I knew like of it, but I had never done it myself. And one of the projects that I'm managing is going to need this specific testing soon. And he's like, hey, let me just go show you how to do it on an existing building. And so it happened to be one of the towers in Uptown. I'm not going to go too crazy into the projects, but just this morning I got to go up on the 22nd floor of this building and just kind of learn and just enjoy the city from up there. So
that is fantastic. Well,
a day in the life.
Yeah. Thanks for taking time and talking with folks here on this episode of Career Bits. Tell folks how they can connect with you and how they can find out more about ECS.
Ooh, well, I guess the easiest thing to do would just to go online. I think it's ecslimited.com, engineering consulting services. I know there are a few other consulting services with their name and then ECS, but we are just ECS. So yeah, my name is Alex Tax. You can reach out to me. My UNCC email is atax@uncc.edu. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Don't spam me or anything but I'm not going to respond to all of them if I get waves. But yeah, just reach out. There's an online application form online. And if you just have any questions, just feel free to reach out. LinkedIn is another good opportunity. That's just another kind of aspect of just being able to connect with people in professional sense and trying to get under your name kind of just out there even further. So
fantastic. Alex, thanks for being a part of this episode of Career Bits.
Yeah, thank you, Jay.
Excited to bring on to Career Bits now Jessica Kim, Assistant Director for Marketing and Career Coach for the Engineering, Energy, and Manufacturing Career Community. Jessica, thanks for coming on Career Bits.
Yeah, no problem, Jay. Glad to be here.
So we've talked to Linda Thurman in the college, and then I talked to Alex Tax from ECS, who gave us a point of view from being a recent alum who's now working in the field on things. But backing up to students that are maybe just now entering into UNC Charlotte and are considering the engineering energy career community, what are things that students who are thinking about a career in those fields, what should they be interested in learning about? What kind of problems are they going to solve? Stuff like that.
Typically, engineering students are the ones that are kind of like deep thinkers. They look at something and they wonder, I wonder how that works. Or they really like to break down things to the simplest part and just thinking about how that's developed. And most of them are a little bit more introverted. So I would say if you feel like you're that type of person and you think about all the little intricate parts that make up a big picture, that might be something that you want to look into. So engineering is a broad field. It has so many disciplines. There's systems engineering, electrical engineering, mechanical, civil. So thinking about all those things as well. So it's a really good field to be into if you love design, if you like thinking about all those little parts that make up a big picture.
And we know science and math, and particularly like applied math and applied science, are going to be a big part of the curricula and things. But beyond that, what kind of skills are needed to be successful in the engineering community fields?
I think a really, really big part is that you are a good team worker. Just because I see that being such a big part of your education here at UNC Charlotte, they really focus on team projects. So you're definitely going to have projects as soon as you're entered into the program where you work with different students that specialize in different areas. So if you, let's say, are a mechanical engineer, you're going to work with another student that's electrical, and then another student that might be civil. And then you make up a team of 3 or 4 students, and you work on a project that lasts either a semester or a whole year. And that really speaks volumes for when you go out into the real world, because that's exactly what you're going to do as an engineer working for a big company. You're going to be a part of a big team. And so teamwork is essential as an engineering student. So I would definitely say that that's one of the big ones. So if you feel like you don't have much experience in that, that's okay. That's why they give you all these projects to hone in on those skills. So it's important to, that goes with team, when you have teamwork, you have to be a good communicator. So you have to communicate well with your teammates so you can have a good, result. So I think those are really important. Teamwork, especially, and then communication comes in line with that as well.
It's neat that you mentioned that, because Alex mentioned that very specifically, that those were things that he had done a lot of while he was in college that he didn't expect that was going to be such a focus on. And then when he got into the company that he worked for, he actually interned for them. That was all of what he did. And, so I think that's excellent advice, Jessica. As students are working through this, though, and, there's a lot of opportunities out there for them. Even in COVID-19, we haven't seen a big slowdown in the fields. What are some good strategies for networking for students as they're getting ready to think about, should I do a co-op, should I do an internship, building experience while they're in school?
Yeah, absolutely. Networking is definitely key. So I have been encouraging students when I meet with them one-on-one, virtually, and when I do these career meetups virtually, to really look into your LinkedIn profiles and making sure that they're up to date, making sure that they are using the alumni feature where they try to connect with alumni that have LinkedIn profile pages, and trying to just connect with them, sending out messages, looking at profiles of alumni that maybe work at their dream companies or have interned at a company that they want to work for. And so they see that alumni and they reach out to them and say, hey, I see that you've interned at BMW. Could we talk about that? So that's something that will make you stand out. You can build these connections while we're working from home right now. You can't meet with people face to face, but LinkedIn is such a great tool. So I highly encourage everyone to use that, making sure that your profile is up to date, because LinkedIn is the #1 recruiting site online. So every big company has a LinkedIn profile. You can find out what's going on in their current events, who works there. Maybe there's some alumni that work there. So the possibilities are endless on LinkedIn. And then also making sure that you're keeping up to date with all the events that we have going on at the Career Center. At the Career Center, we haven't stopped what we're doing. We're offering as much as we can virtually coming into the fall semester. So we're still going to have networking events. We're still going to have our career fairs. We're still going to have alumni panels where we bring students that have graduated from UNC Charlotte, and they're out in the workforce right now. And so they're going to give you their tips, their tricks on what it's like and how you can transition. And students really love that. You can network with them when you go to these events. So I would say, keep doing what you're doing, even though you can't physically be at these events, there's a lot that's still being offered virtually. So stay up to date on all that.
Jessica, that's all excellent advice. Tell folks how they can get in touch with you if they want to make an appointment and talk with you further about opportunities.
Yeah, so I still offer one-on-one coaching virtually. So you can go into your Hire a Niner account and make an appointment with me, or you can email me directly. My email is J as in Jack, Kim, Kim, 161 at uncc.edu. You can email me directly, ask me some questions, just anything. We still want to have that relationship with you guys. And if it's not career related, that's okay. Maybe you're having a really hard time finding that motivation, anything, we're here for you. We want to still have that relationship with you, whether it's in the office or not. Also, I also lead some career meetups that are being held virtually, and they are related to the engineering, manufacturing, and energy career communities. So I recently had one on co-ops, internship search within this industry, and a lot of students had questions. So at the end, we'll do a Q&A, and so that's a really great space where you can come, you don't have to say anything, but maybe there's some questions that are being asked by your peers that you might have not thought of. And so you get to be in that space and you get a lot of information. So feel free to just email me or go to Hire a Niner.
Thank you for listening to this latest episode of Career Bits. Of course, you can follow everything going on with the Career Center through social media at Niner Careers on all platforms, and also follow our website, career.uncc.edu.